Hi, good morning, everyone. We are back again today, over Zoom with Jenna Lalani, who is a family and estates lawyer practicing here in the Lower Mainland. Jenna, thank you for taking your time to be with us
Of
today.
course. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So we talked in our last Zoom about cohabitation and marriage agreements. So we want to talk about the agreement on the other side of the coin, which would be separation and divorce agreements. And I have some of the same questions basically, but why is an agreement important to get? There's some obvious circumstances why someone would be directed to have one, but from your point of view, why is the agreement important?
I think it's really important to put into place, as soon as parties separate, the best, you put your figures in, how you're dividing assets, you put the most current figures in. There's no confusion later on saying, what was that value or what was any of that? You do the disclosure. It's right at the beginning saying, look, I had this much in my account, you had this much, and it's figuring out the best way to divide the assets based on the correct and current information. The longer that time goes and passes, if you're doing a separation agreement or just jumping into the divorce, things get a little bit more messy. So it's not as clear cut. It's not as, well, should we take the assets from the value it is now, or should we take it from separation when we decided? And so when it comes to a divorce, and if you're fully going through the divorce without a separation agreement and it's more contested and you didn't have a cohabitation agreement in place, once you settle at mediation or even trial, they take the dates, the amounts in your account or the amount of property, that value at the current time. So sometimes it's a real disadvantage to people who own that property, or even people who are looking for a higher chunk in the property. The market fluctuates. It may not be where it should be. And, there could be more debts because of, lawyering up or not having that initial cohabitation agreement in place. So there's so many different factors that would make not having an agreement in place. Like, there's so many different factors in place that could really change that. Whereas if you had an agreement in place, it's done, it's set in stone, and you got to pick your values. You really get to say, this is what we want, and you're working together to get the goal.
Yeah, because I find sometimes when we have clients that separate, there's an obvious piece to it where we need validation from the lawyer to confirm if there is spousal support or child support, or usually what the equalization payment is, and that's why we're doing the mortgage refinance.
Of course. And so, like you said, the initial part about spousal support, I've had people who, were just living together, so they were common law and not thinking that they needed to go through an official process to get separated. And properties getting sold, or somebody's entering into a new contract, buying new property, getting new mortgage, and you as the mortgage broker know you need to know about spousal support, if there's any obligations there. And so many people don't realize that. So 10 years down the line, after you've separated, people are like, okay, I need a separation agreement, needs to say that there's no spousal support. Going, great, no problem, I can help you, but what about all the other assets? And now it's going through 10 years down. And I just finished with a client who I believe were separated a good 7-8 years ago. And so great terms, and they were both able to work together. But there was so much, okay, what do we do about this? Or what was the value here? Or how did we do it then? Or what did we do? And it's, if you had it in place right from the beginning, the mortgage piece of buying a new house or even getting that, like, it's just a smoother process. It's a transition, and you're not looking back and being like, oh my God, I need a separation agreement. This was how many years ago? Yeah. I'm married now again. Like, there's so many different factors, but it's so important to get it done right away. Like, you're just saving the headache. Because you have to get it done. You're living together, you separate, and people think, I didn't get married, and I didn't get married for the reason that I didn't want to have to do this. But unfortunately, in British Columbia, you're considered a spouse.
Yeah, and I'm surprised by the number of people that still don't understand those family law rules after cohabitation of 2 years. You're legally married under the eyes of the law for intents of in separation and how the law decides assets are divided. So I know some people, don't complete that separation agreement if everything is amicable and they have their own homes to go to and everything's good, and they don't do it because of cost. So what would you say again to that barrier or that obstacle, aside from the obvious, as you've just stated, 10 years from now, you've muddied the waters over 10 years of assets and you may not be amicable at that point, but still have minor children.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially when children are involved, it's really important to have that in place to get that child support documented, or to have parenting schedules in place. Because, like you said, 10 years down the line, something comes up and they're like, well, we never decided on this, so that's going to be this way. And a lot of times it ends up in court, in family court or provincial court, just, a little bit more of a dispute or an argument between the parties, and that's what drags on. And it's never fun. I mean, I like going to court because I'm a lawyer, but it's never fun watching people argue about, I want the child during this day, or I want the child this day, and this is what it was, and this is how it's going to be because this is what I say, and because I'm taking the child this way, it's more child support. Have an agreement in place. Say, obviously there's going to be circumstances that will change, and sometimes, we're going to have to vary that agreement, or if there's nothing that can be done, sometimes a mediation, but having that agreement in place, saying, look, this is where we were in agreement. This is where we started. How can we use this to get to what we need to get to?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure we've again triggered some more questions for people, and I know that you have mentioned in our last Zoom call that you are open for consultations, free consultation, and so we can put your contact information in the show notes. But is there anything else that you wanted to say in regards to these agreements today? Any other pieces?
Like I said, people just don't think they need it. And it's the same with a cohabitation agreement. If you're not married, or even if you are married, they're like, I'll just do the divorce and I'm not going to worry about a separation agreement. It makes it so much cleaner. Your divorce is done like after that year of being separated, because you have to be separated for a year before you can get a divorce. But after you have that agreement in place, oh, things just fly by like sunshine and rainbows, people.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for taking your time to be with us today and sharing your notes. If anyone is watching and we have sort of triggered some more questions, please feel free to reach out to Jenna. She's more than happy to receive your call or email. So thank you again for spending your time with us today, Jenna, and thank you everyone else.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye for now.